So it's the night before Rosh Hashanah. As you can see, it's dark. Things are starting to get quiet. And I want to take you back a couple hundred years to the small town of Sassov in the Ukraine. There was a great Hasidic Rebbe. His name was Moshe Leib of Sassov. Moshe Leib was a person who led thousands of Hasidim, of followers. And he had an interesting custom. The morning before Rosh Hashanah, the congregation says these very long prayers. They're called slichos, but they're the longest ones of the year. And before the congregation would get there early in the morning, he would have a custom that 2 hours before, when it was still dark outside like it is now, he'd go into his room, into his office next to the synagogue, and nobody knew what he did in there. He would just be there for a long time, and everybody was speculating, what was the Rebbe doing in his office? So one guy decided at 4 in the morning to sneak into the office and see what was he doing. So he peeks his head in, wondering what he's going to see, and he notices that the Rebbe is nowhere to be found and the window is open. And he goes back and he says, "Gentlemen, I found out what the Rebbe does. He obviously ascends to heaven to pray and intercede on behalf of the Jewish people right before Rosh Hashanah, the Judgment Day." They're like, wow, unbelievable. The Rebbe goes up to Shemayim, to heaven, to pray for the Jewish people. Unbelievable. Our Rebbe is something special. But of course, as you know, there's always that one guy who's a skeptic, and he didn't really believe them. That one guy, the guy at the back of the shul always, the back of the synagogue, who always makes the comments about the rabbi, he wasn't trusting anything they said. So the next year, he decided, the morning of Rosh Hashanah, when it was pitch black outside, 3:30 in the morning, he sneaks into the shul. He goes into the office. He hides himself in a closet. Sure enough, 4 in the morning, Moshe Leib comes into the office, and he starts to go to the closet. He takes off his shtreimel, his fur hat, his long coat, his bekasha, and this guy, the skeptic, is looking at this the entire time, and he's just wondering what is going on. And he sees Moshe Leib wears the clothing of a Cossack, a Ukrainian peasant, a Russian peasant. Very heavy boots, very thick shirt, and he opens the window, jumps out, and he's got a whole bag of money going with him. The skeptic now is getting very, very curious as to what in the world is going on. So the skeptic jumps out the window also and follows Moshe Leib through the back streets of the town. And they're going from one house to the next, to one neighborhood to the next, all the way to the back of the town where all the poor people live. And in the back of the town where the poor people live, there's this one ramshackle hut that's like almost falling in. It looks so terrible. Moshe Leib knocks on the door. There's a mother and 3 little children there. He opens the door. The mother's scared. Who is this man? And they're starving. They're cold. Moshe Leib says, "Leah, it's me. Don't you recognize me? I'm your husband, Yitzchak, his old business partner. I'm Ivan. And I know Yitzchak died a month ago, and ever since then you've been in a very serious situation. But you know, I owe Yitzchak 16 ruble, and it's in this bag, and I'm giving you the 16 ruble. This should take you through the winter. You'll have enough food, and you'll have enough for yourself. You'll never see me again. I've paid my debts." He puts the money on the table. He walks out and slams the door. The skeptic can't believe what he's seeing. He follows Moshe Leib all the way back through the streets of the town of Sassov, all the way back to the shul. Moshe Leib jumps back into his office, takes off his Cossack clothing, puts on his rabbinic garb, his shtreimel and bekasha, the fur hat and the long coat, unlocks the door. 6 o'clock, he's ready for the prayers. So after the prayer services, the skeptic goes to all of his friends and he says, "Gentlemen, you guys made a big mistake. The Rebbe doesn't go up to heaven to intercede on behalf of the Jewish people. He does something much, much greater than that. He brings heaven down to earth." Now, most people, when they hear me say this story, I say it about Shabbos, because Shabbos we really are bringing heaven down to earth. But this Rosh Hashanah is a special Rosh Hashanah. It's a special New Year. It's a year in which we went through so much. And God has clearly reminded us that we need to bring heaven back down to earth. We need to stop and pause. We need to take a break and stop doing what we're doing and think about what can we do to bring heaven down to earth. Make a decision this year to do one thing to bring heaven down to earth, whether it be in terms of your relationship with Hashem, studying Torah, or praying, or putting on tefillin, or lighting Shabbos candles, whatever it may be. Or it's your relationship between man and your fellow man. whether it's a person that you may have gotten into a fight with, whether it's an old person, a grandparent or an old aunt or uncle who needs a phone call every once in a while just to lift their spirits, they're lonely. Make that decision now to do something to bring heaven down to earth. Have a beautiful, sweet new year.